when we have so much power inside of us that we can make things exponentially better, why would we not shoot higher? It's no different than all of the stories you might hear when people are talking about the science of manifesting and the process of manifesting, and they manifest some little thing like a parking space over and over and over and over and over again, only to, do that for 100 days and think, good God, I've done this. Why didn't I choose something bigger? Hey, welcome to this week's episode of Becoming More Me. I'm recording this on a Friday afternoon, just hanging out in my sweatshirt. There is some rain coming down outside. I just delivered some awesome coaching to my Becoming More Me community on Skool, on motivation, and I tell you what, I'm feeling motivated. And you've heard me say it before. When an urge strikes, that is when I typically record my solo episodes. I don't usually plan them in advance. I usually wait until there's this fire happening inside of me and I'm like, ooh, I've just got to share what is on my heart, what is on my soul, what is bouncing around in this unbridled brain of mine. And that's what it feels like today, because it's been a really interesting start to the year over here. There's been a lot of funky energy moments, and I had some really low spots a couple of weeks ago, and pulling myself out of that self-doubt and back into this on fire kind of place is always just so reaffirming. And I love that I've gotten to a place in this journey where I can appreciate the lows as much as the highs, and I know that I can always get back on top, because that was not always a belief that I felt to my core. So yeah, I just finished doing this motivation coaching. And if you're not already in my community on the platform known as Skool, that's Skool, please join us over there. There is so much value over there, so much going on. And it's a relatively small community right now because we moved off of Facebook not too long ago. And so I love the group that we have there, and I cannot wait to make it bigger and better and even more connective and collaborative and transformative to everyone who's in it. So one of the things that I do in the community, besides giving you tons of resources in the classroom that you can use at any time, is I have this coaching offering every week right now, where on Mondays I give a topic and on Fridays I coach on it. Now, here's the interesting thing that happened. This week, I took a suggestion from a member in the group and I gave multiple subjects to vote on. There was this feeling in the group that perhaps people were not contributing as much on the specific subjects because they didn't want to get vulnerable or share their details when I was asking about specific things like habits or, procrastination. Oh, Mowgli would like to talk on the podcast today. For those of you watching the video, you can see my cute puppy dog right now. He thinks that this is not the time to record a podcast. This is the time to play ball. You can probably hear him slurping, trying to lick me. All right, Mowgli, get off. Anyway, so people were more willing to vote on general topics than to deep dive into something that could have been really transformative. And I think there's a misconception here that should be addressed, and that is that one person's issues don't benefit everyone. And that's so untrue. It's the reason why group coaching is so freaking powerful, because we are all connected. We are all of the same source energy. And when one person shares their issue, even if their issue is different from yours, there are usually connective points in coaching or advice that would be given to that person that would massively improve your situation as well. The rising tide raises all ships, and it's through our vulnerability and our willingness to use our voice and express ourselves that we can create really great change. And that ultimately is what I want to create in my community. And that's also why I'm very careful in my community about who I let in. We have a wall of shame over there for people who come in with ill intents or start, cold DMing our members. They get banned in a heartbeat. And we really like to create I like to say a safe environment, but I can't provide I don't have the ability to provide a safe environment. I can do my best, and that's exactly what I do. But, the only certain thing in this world is uncertainty. And so we just have to trust our guts. And that's part of what we work on over there is increasing our intuition and our gut senses and really fortifying that mind-body connection so that we, can show up as authentically and share as deeply as we feel called to do. So anyway, I was over there doing that coaching. If you're not over there, get over there, receive the coaching, vote on the coaching, participate, share. And there's so much value that comes out of those Friday coaching sessions, whether it's a general session like it was today, where we were talking about motivation, or some really specific ones that I've done for people on getting out of their way or financial insecurities or things like that. It's something new every week and it's a lot of fun. And I really enjoy community building. And that's been something that has given me a lot of joy. And as I was talking about in this motivation coaching today, the things that we feel creative about, the things that we have interest in are always going to be the things that motivate us in a natural, easy way. And when we have too much resistance, we can't do anything. So you got to find the things that have that ease where you can connect to them, enjoy them, and create awesome things. It's kind of like with this podcast and the fact that I kind of sat on beginning it for so long. And the best advice I can give to anybody who's thinking about starting a podcast is to just start doing it. We can get really caught up in, what am I going to have for my cover art? How am I going to title my episodes? What's the name of the show going to be? How about the intro music, the outro music? Am I going to mid-roll on things? All of these little aspects. But honestly, if you look at some people who have created great podcasts, gosh, I remember when, I think it was Russell Brunson who founded ClickFunnels, his podcast used to be created with the voice notes app on his phone on his drive to work. We're not talking high quality, high production stuff, but brilliant tidbits that came out of that time. And it was doing the thing, creating the art and the music and the show notes and all that isn't doing the podcast, but getting the podcast done, just like I'm doing right now, feeling motivated, feeling inspired. I don't know what the title of this podcast is yet. I don't know. What's it going to be? We'll see when I'm done. We'll see what I talk about. And I know a lot of people who plan out their podcasts beautifully. And, they have all of these bullet points. Maybe they even read from a script or whatever. That's not my style. I work from a feeling of autonomy and a belief that it matters. And those are things that are motivating for me to do a podcast week in and week out. And even when I have guests on my show, I have very, very loosely defined questions, some in my head, some on paper, and sometimes I never even get to them because the conversation goes somewhere else. And I just have really developed that self-trust and that belief that it'll go where it needs to go and the right message will come out for the person who's going to end up hearing it. And I think that's really important in our work to trust, because until we start doing the thing, we can't improve. And I know I probably would cringe if I actually went back and listened to my first dozen podcasts, and that's okay. Because if I didn't rip the Band-Aid off and do them, I wouldn't be 140 some podcasts into this journey. Some of them suck. Yeah. That's really what it comes down to. But it's creating sucky work that helps us create amazing work. And that's going to be part of every process. That's part of why in my Better Therapy checklist, I always talk about how I only like to work with coaches and therapists that are improving themselves and doing things to further their own growth. And it's been so inspiring for me. I had Alexander Ohm and Dan Harrison, who are some of my coaches, and Dan Harrison is the founder of Soulful Sales, on the podcast recently. And for the whole month of February, they participated in the Skool games. They've got a community on Skool also. And, I don't know at the time of recording this whether they placed in the top 10 or not. That's the goal. But whether they do or they don't, they've had their heart in it, and that has created fire for everybody in their community to see what they're doing. It's this whole philosophy, like in the Benjamin Hardy, Dan Sullivan book, 10x is easier than 2x, where you go for these really, really big things and you expand who you are as a person. And you take yourself from, most people can figure out how to do 2 times as much as they're doing, but it's just not sustainable. It's usually transaction based, and there's only so much of you that can, fit into that model. But when you look at 10xing things, so many things fall out of the way. One of the examples in the actual book, 10x is easier than 2x, is when Michelangelo sculpted David. And when somebody asked him how he did it and how it was so accurate and everything, and he basically just said, I took away everything that wasn't David. And that's kind of like when you magnify things in your life and you go for that bigger future than what you have now, you have to let everything fall away that isn't aligned with that. And you start to realize how many things that you do on a day-to-day basis that aren't really 10x things. And you kind of have to break up with that part of yourself or your business or your habits or whatever it is that you're 10xing and step into this next version of you. And that's exciting. You have to think in entirely new ways, because if you're looking at your income, there's probably no way that transactionally, if I think about it with myself, I can't go 10x in my business with one-to-one client work. I'd work around the clock and I'd be miserable and the work would suck. My clients would not love me because I'd be grumpy. And that's no way to go 10x. But I can go 10x when I start thinking outside of that box and into other ways that I can pull that lever and magnify my impact and, get that 10x outcome. And when you start thinking that way, you become a different person. And that honestly is my favorite part of the entrepreneurial journey. And I love being around people who are doing that. So I've really loved watching Dan and Alexander go for it this month, regardless of the outcome, because they're becoming next level leaders and mentors for people like me who rely on them for coaching. And that's why I'm always learning and growing too, because I want to continually become a next level hypnotherapist, a next level EFT master, a next level life coach, a next level person who can channel in what needs to be channeled from my clients and transform their lives. And sure, I could keep doing it the way that I did it 9 years ago, 5 years ago, even a year ago. But I know that I'm capable of bigger, better things. And that's one of my favorite things when I get to work with clients long term, is that they get to look back and think, oh gosh, we were doing things this way when we started. Now we're doing things this way. Or you have this new way that you're helping me, or all the ways that we get to grow together. That's the fun part. Or when I have a client who maybe I worked with back in 2020 that comes back to me in present time and is like, holy crap, this is a totally different therapy than what we were doing a few years ago. Because I always want to strive to do better and to create something that's more efficient, more effective, more fun, more transformative. All of those things are so important to me, and those are what drive me to create what I create. And I think that ultimately, the life that we want, that all of us want, is all about the way that we want to feel. And all those changes that you feel separate from right now, they're not about the things that you do, but rather about the way that you be. And if you're actually trying to magnify that enough to make a difference, because you don't have to actually hit that 10x version of whatever it is that you want to do. But in trying to, you're going to far exceed 2x. That's for sure. You're going to make advancements like you never thought possible. The problem that I see most often is that the way that you need to be in order to be able to connect with what you want most in your life feels threatening. It feels threatening to your body. It feels threatening to your mind. So we create and then we stay stuck in this loop. And that is exactly what the work that I do serves to untangle, to regulate, elevate, and to align. And that's what I think is so important, because your subconscious mind needs to get on board when you want to make big changes, when you want to get motivated, and your nervous system needs to get on board. Your heart and your soul need to get on board. And we have been so colonized and so disconnected from our own power that stepping back into it feels like a threat. And it feels like it threatens our freedom and everything else when we step into it. And the problem there is that all that fulfillment, all those feelings that we want, they're just a different consciousness. They're not separate from us. It's just requiring us to be aware in a different way, to be conscious in a different way. And so many of us have lost our ability to connect and manifest what we want, be it motivation, be it an amplified presence or magnified life. And those things, they're our birthright. We're just disconnected from the power to step into it. And we have so much control over that internally with ourselves when we get the subconscious, the nervous system, mind, body, spirit, soul, all of that on board with us, instead of sabotaging the process over and over again. And that is what I'm so passionate about. Surrounding ourselves with people who help us change and transcend our beliefs, create a new reality. Realize that we are powerful enough to do that day in and day out, and that everything we want is already on the way, but we keep allowing ourselves to align with lower level thoughts. And we keep getting stuck in these ruts when we do that. And that's where motivation ends up feeling like resistance and struggle, because it doesn't feel like we're free to decide. So that autonomy is so important, and that belief that what we're doing matters is so important. It's part of the reason that you always hear people asking you why you want something so bad. And not just that first reason that comes out of your mouth, but then why you want that so bad, and why you want the next answer so bad, and why you want that so bad, to the point that you are just like sobbing and just know how badly it matters to you. And then finding a way to reconnect to that easily, that feeling, that why that makes you cry, and use that to propel you towards whatever it is that you're currently feeling separate from, or lacking, or disconnected from. Because I promise you, you're not. It's already on the way. But you have to align with the frequency. And then you have to have faith. Faith. And that's where a lot of people get stuck too. Because if you don't have faith, then you end up back in that loop, back in that cycle. You have to learn to believe in the things that you don't see, but the things that you can absolutely 100% align with the feeling of having already had happen, even if it haven't yet. Because that is where your wish fulfilled happens. In the belief and in the faith that transformation has the ability to come through. So I'm currently leaning into a lot of things I can't see. And it's really, really cool to feel and see the way that the universe is pulling different levers for me. It's really amazing because I have some pretty big, giant goals for this year. And I'm shooting for those 10x things because it's like, who wants to just like make things 10% better or even 50% better or whatever? I mean, that's great. But when we have so much power inside of us that we can make things exponentially better, why would we not shoot higher? It's no different than all of the stories you might hear when people are talking about the science of manifesting and the process of manifesting, and they manifest some little thing like a parking space over and over and over and over and over again, only to, do that for 100 days and think, good God, I've done this. Why didn't I choose something bigger? And we don't have to beat ourselves up for that. Maybe that's all we felt powerful enough to manifest at that time. But once we realize our power, why would we not use it? Why would we sit on it? Why would we act like it's not ours? Or put ourselves into a victim story? Or talk ourselves out of it? Or think that we're not enough? And we all go through these things. Self-doubt, I'm not a stranger to it, or any of those other things I just mentioned. But when you know better, you do better. When I find myself in self-doubt, you better believe I am listening to some hypnotic audios that I've crafted to get myself out of it. You'd better believe I am sharing it with someone close to me, usually my husband, and allowing him to help me raise my vibration. You better believe I'm holding myself accountable to the things that I know help me feel more confident and doing those like a champ. And you better believe I'm giving myself some love and some grace and allowing myself to feel the self-doubt. It's not about not feeling it. It's about feeling it and processing it and moving up that scale of consciousness that we've talked about so very often. There's a time and place for everything. And even when we know that our time spent in self-doubt is separating us from the goal we wish to manifest, there will still be time in self-doubt. So we need to look for the gifts of it. We need to look for the message of it. We need to see, what is that part of me that is doubting what's going on right now have to offer me? What is it trying to protect me from? What is its role? What is its function? What is its purpose? Why is it here? Why am I unable to feel confident in that which I am pursuing right now? And get something out of it. I can't think of a time in the last handful of years that I have not consciously received a lesson and integrated it from any time that I felt depressed, in self-doubt, sad, whatever. There's lessons in all of it. So it's not a matter of trying to avoid it or turn the wheels in the other direction as quickly as possible. It's about getting to know yourself more and getting to understand the power that is you and realizing that everything that you want, you are deserving of. And you do have the power to call it into your life. And then take it the next step. If you need help with that, if you need support with that, come join me in my community over on Skool, or hop on an insight call with me and we can talk about how these principles actually apply to your life, your challenges, your situations. That's where the real power lies. We can talk in generalities, and you can watch my content for months on end and listen to things or read things I've created for months on end. But what you really want is a solution that helps you and something that gets you moving in the direction that you want to be going as soon as humanly possible. No one has weeks, months, years, or even decades to waste trying to figure it out if figuring it out has only ever equaled going in circles. Ain't nobody got time for that. So hit me up. Join me on Skool. Send me a message on Instagram. Send me an email, Theresa at theresalearlevine.com, or hop on my calendar by going to gamechangingconversation.com, and let's figure out how to get you where you want to go. Have a great day, and thank you for listening. Thanks for spending some of your precious time with me today. If you loved this episode, please leave a review or simply share it with someone else who would get great benefit from it too. If you share on social media, please tag me so I can personally connect and thank you. Until next time, keep taking bold and brave steps towards becoming more of who you want to be in this world. You are capable, you are worthy, and you are enough. And if your inner critic is still trying to argue with those facts, hit me up. We've got work to do.